Hi everyone, let's build a Warmoth Tele. In this segment we'll be rolling the fretboard edges. This is an optional segment, for you maybe. The main tools we'll be using are a smooth walled socket, as you might find in a socket wrench set. In this case we're using a spark plug socket, as well as a spark plug socket extender to get into those upper frets. Now the goal here is to soften the sharp edges of the fretboard. As you do this, you want to imagine pressing down from the fretboard towards the back of the neck. You're not pushing in towards the frets. And in fact, you don't want to push at the corner of the frets at all. We're only going where there's wood. So we start on the sharp corner, push down away from the neck. The principle here is simulating having played the guitar for years and years. Most of the force is going to be rolling the fret, the edge away from the frets. As you can see here, we've got some burnishing already. The most important thing to remember during this particular process is to go slow, pay close attention, and if you begin to get distracted or frustrated, stop right away and go for a little break or a long break. Stretch, walk around, get something to drink, shake out those jazz hands. This is a time-consuming job that can get frustrating, so take your time. You can already see we've made some progress here. It's a little bit softer. Now I recommend starting on the upper side, the low E side of the neck. Generally, most people will have the neck less rounded on this side. I'm going to go ahead and roll a little bit more than some might because I play a lot of thumb over. Starting on the low E side of the neck kind of gets rid of the jitters, and then the part of the neck that's always in your hand, the left side. Once you get to that side, it's going to be second nature to you by that time. You'll have no trouble going at it and getting exactly the feel that you're after. And really, that's the beauty of rolling the fretboard edges yourself, because nobody knows what your hand feels like better than you do, right? So if you know what you want the neck to feel like, so work on it until it feels like that. We're just going to go ahead and take our time. Of course, if you like those sharp fretboard edges, then maybe don't roll the neck at all, eh? I find it helps to imagine that you're an old, drunken, heavy-handed slide guitar player. Imagine if you'd been playing this on stage, just really wailing on it. After a few years, it'd be well worn in. Maybe a few years after that, it wouldn't be even comfortable anymore. It's possible to ruin a neck playing slide on it so heavy-handed, so we're just kind of speeding that up until things are just right. Especially for those of us that play a little softer. I'm not very heavy-handed. I treat my instruments pretty carefully. I'm really not going to roll those edges any time in my lifetime, so I'm going to go ahead and get it the way I like it right now. It's important to take your time because you don't want to get desensitized to it. You want to come back to it a little later and see when each spot has had enough. I like them a little bit heavy rolled. You can see here the visual difference, the burnished edge versus the sharp corner. It's already feeling much better. Now when you start doing this, there's always going to be a panic moment the first couple of frets. When you see it, you're going to sit back and think, oh, what have I done? I've been rolling the edges on this brand new neck. And it's going to be okay. Reassure yourself that you're going to like it when you're done. And now is certainly not the time to stop once you've done a couple of frets. Well, if you leave it the way it is, then it does look like you've damaged it, admittedly. But if you finish the job, do it well, you'll see it feels great and looks great too. The principle here is as you're flattening the one main sharp corner, you'll wind smaller, slightly less sharp corners. You'll go back and soften those, working your way from the edge of the fretboard down around the side of the neck, making sure you're blending it evenly. Essentially, you're compressing the wood fibers on the hardwood edge. When we say softer and softening the edges of the fretboard, obviously we don't mean soft like a pillow. It's not going to be cushy or squishy or anything like that. You're really just rounding the edges and giving them a broken in feel. And again, we're staying away from the fret edges. We don't want to compromise the frets. We don't want to push them up out of the board. We don't want to dent the frets. And most importantly, well, maybe not most importantly, but also importantly, we want to be able to refret the neck in the future. You know, we're breaking it in, we're not breaking it, we're not wearing it out. We want to make sure that while we make it feel better, we're not compromising its structural integrity or diminishing its useful lifespan in any way. I don't roll the upper frets nearly as much as the lower frets, especially the frets that are surrounded by body. They typically wouldn't get rolled anyway, and the angle that you'll be playing at up there, they're not going to be cutting into your fingers or anything, so I save it for the lower frets where we'll be really wrapping our hand around it. And again, we're moving in a smooth, even motion from left to right. We're not making a sawing motion. We're moving from one fret to the other without actually hitting the fret itself. I find a lot of times I'll think I'm done with an area, and I'll go do the rest of the neck, come back and look at it, and wind up going back over the same area a few more times. You'll be able to tell, towards the end what spots you need to get to. On most necks, at some point I'll think I'm done, and then go back over it all one more time, two more times, sometimes three more times, just to make sure that it's just right for the way I want it. You can see we've made some really good progress here. Make sure to keep testing it in the playing position as you're going so you don't overdo it. Or even worse, underdo it. The rolling on the edges here is beginning to be pretty visible. Got a nice even reflection. I like to use a single point light source when I'm doing this. You can kind of see how the edge is coming along. As you can see here, as you tilt it, the reflection really follows along the curve. And when I'm done, I like to go over and burnish the entire neck, kind of minimize any tooling marks or fingernail scratches, and get a even sheen on the whole neck. Again, it's not strictly necessary, and in a few years, it's not going to be obvious that you've done it. Look how nice that neck looks. Nice and smooth and round, just like it came from the factory that way, huh? That's what custom shops make their reputation on right here. That's going to be a comfy neck. All right, we're getting close now. It's going to be a treat to finally try this thing. And up next, we'll be installing the tuning machines. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great rest of the day.